Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 131. This week, the number one reason property developers don't succeed. Let's jump on in. Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast 131 with Hilary Saxton and Bob Anderson, the number one reason property developers don't succeed. Before I start, what a big breath. Happy New Year!
Hey! Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. We hope you've had a fab Christmas and you'll be listening to us no doubt on holiday.
Of course, lying on the beach or wherever.
If you are lying on the beach, make sure you've got enough sunblock on. That's my tip.
Yeah.
While we're on tips, Bob.
Oh, tip. Here's a good tip.
Yes.
Oh, you know who told me this tip?
No.
A couple of birthdays ago, you hired a particular fisherman who appears on television. Remember that?
Yep.
And we went out for a fish with him. And one thing he said, big baits catch big fish. Little baits catch little fish and big fish. Think about that. It's a fishing tip for the week.
Is that really true though, Bob? How often do you catch big fish off little baits? That's a good question. I'd like to know the stats on that.
Oh, okay. I don't have a big enough sample to run some very.
You're
good
just running
stats
off
for
the
you.
guy, and he's pretty.
I know what he means.
Yeah, me too. I think you'll know what he's on about.
Remember the time you caught a small fish, not too big, and then you thought, oh, I'll let it out and see if a bigger fish eats it, and it did, and you nearly landed that shark.
Yeah, no, it's pretty scary. Why are sharks so scary? They just look scary.
Well, they're better off when you're in the boat and they're in the water.
Yeah, preference all day. Anyways, well, we do hope you've had a great Christmas and New Year. And whether you're lying on the beach, you're at the gym, you're working off your Christmas pudding, you're sitting down writing your goals for the year, you're waiting for me to put out some sort of goal-setting exercise, which I haven't decided I probably could do well. So, yes, whatever you're doing, we hope you're having a fabulous holiday. And this reaches you feeling really excited and becoming re-energized, because that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
2024.
Yes.
What a year.
What a year. And why not you? Why not your year? So today we're talking about the number one reason property developers don't succeed. Oof. The number one reason.
Yeah, well, it revolves around a few things.
It does really.
I
want to kick off with, though,
one.
Bob, well, actually, before we kick off, I've got to give away the book.
Oh, yes.
Jacqueline Laidler, my friend. This me in the post to you. You'll actually receive it before.
Isn't that, how can you do that?
Because I'm magic.
You can go back in time.
Yes. By the time you receive this, you'll be going back in time, or maybe we recorded it just prior to Christmas.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yes, Bob, that's why. And for those who want to get your own copy of Three Wines In, shamelessly putting the product placement back there, you know where to find it. Thanks, Fiora. You just bought yours today. That was really great to see that order come through. Anyway, Bob, where I started on a few notes initially, and then we've got together and made a few more, was I'm not saying that everyone doesn't succeed, because I know that some people have big dreams of doing a lot of property development, or they want to transfer over into property developments for full-time living. And that is, I think, a lot of our community. They either want to get started, have done one or two, or they want to really step up. And I know that sounds like everybody, but that's kind of who we work with. And some have a bad experience the first time. Some get lucky and have an experience the first time. That's good. Some do one. Why do you laugh?
Sometimes people that are really lucky on their first one, and it's just based purely on luck.
Yeah.
Can be unlucky on their second one.
Exactly.
Because they've got nothing solid, no foundation.
And they don't know what's next. And that's alluding to education. And so if you are serious about property development, then I would definitely recommend that you speak with us about at least our online course, at least that. And it is definitely a great place to start. Downloadables, checklists. But anyway, but when I was writing that, it reminded me of, people in our community that do well, that really make the most of the education, the Kipu straight away, Astioni and Adelaide, just dived in, as so have many of our fabulous students. But I often speak to people who are a little bit on the lines of, oh, but it costs X amount of dollars to do it, to get the online course for life. And you think, what does a university degree cost? You come out from some sort of accounting, commerce, marketing, whatever degree. Your
Oh,
first year, what do you earn? 70,000, 80,000. What
oh,
do
if
they
you're
earn?
lucky,
If you're
a lot
lucky.
of look, a lot of postgraduates in their first 1 or 2 years, and it's true with a lot of degrees,
Mm,
they're in that sort of 60, $75,000 a year bracket,
mm.
which is okay, I guess.
Oh,
It's a start.
it's a great income, but if you look at the investment that to get those degrees, what is that? And we're not anti. I love both my kids have degrees,
Yeah,
and I went back as an adult student, so I do love
and I
education.
started one for 6 months, so don't leave me out.
And Bob gave it a
Oh,
go.
look, I'm not even sure what a degree costs these days, but
I think
a,
it's
a lot
like
of people
50 grand, is it, or
spend
60 or
many years paying
70?
it off.
And you look at the investment into a property development course that is extensive as what we offer, and within 18 months you can make anything from 200 to a million pretty easily, whatever that is,
Yeah,
average. What's the average?
whatever it is,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's only out of your first project. Look,
Yes.
even a little project, it's in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
You don't make like 50,000 out of a project.
Yeah.
It's a six-figure plus, even a little, two-lot subdivision or whatever. It's a six-figure profit, so that's decent. We're not knocking degrees.
Not
My
at all.
goodness, I use people every day. You do. We hire them.
Yes.
Occasionally, we fire them,
And
but they've got degrees, architects, or
but many of
various
them
engineers.
also have done our course as well and become
That's
property
true, actually.
developers.
Yeah.
But what the sort of crossover it's here is, you've got to realize the value of that when you're thinking, oh, I could learn this for free, or someone's posting a lot on Facebook, I'll ask them, they know the answer
Oh,
to that one
God.
question. Cynicism here. But you've got to think, what do you need to know, and you want to know as much as possible, and why would you not invest in yourself? To me it's just a
Well,
no-brainer.
well, look, if you invested 6 grand or whatever a course is, and it made you a minimum of $100,000, why the heck wouldn't you? Why would you take the risk of hoping that you're going to stumble over the line,
Mm,
pick it up on the internet, no chance, or even worse, like get it secondhand from somebody who's doing their first project, or even maybe into their second and had a lucky first? Like, why would you risk
mm,
potentially making that much money? And the other side of the coin is not making that much money
yeah.
and getting yourself into a spot of bother, or even leaving it on the table.
Mm,
I've had people say, we've met people who've done one or two projects, and then they come to us, and it's not their first project, but they say, oh, look, I just know I could have done it better.
mm,
I know I've left profit on the table, and maybe they should have made 300 and made 150 or 200 because
mm.
they made mistakes, weren't quite sure what they were doing. Things happen. And it's not that you'll lose money. Even if you lose profit, I mean, if you could have made 50,000 more by being really clever and knowing what you're doing, by doing a good course, why would you not spend $5,000 or $6,000? It just astounds me.
And you can't compare courses with courses,
That's for sure.
because some courses they just don't have everything in it.
No,
I mean, yeah. Anyway, we'll just park that there, because that
okay.
was the start. The
Yeah,
start was, you have to invest in yourself,
yeah,
and
and,
you
and
do, and I
understand
do.
the value
Yeah,
of investing in yourself
yeah.
and investing in something that you can make a lot of money out of
Mm,
if you do it right. Get it right, make a lot of money. Of course, you're going to invest in that.
mm. Okay, we're going to move on to
Good.
the nuts and bolts of this one, which is
Mm,
the number one reason that they don't move forward, if they haven't done one at all, or if they've done one and haven't moved forward. We're
yeah.
talking you, of
Hey.
people.
Mm,
If we don't do that, it's because we haven't got a plan.
yeah.
We need to have a property plan. Why are you laughing?
I just, once again, I keep being amazed.
Yep.
People that don't really have a plan, they
Mm.
just sort of let things happen. I mean, they
Yes.
got a bit of a plan. I want to be a property developer. Well, that's a good plan.
That end.
And so they hopefully get themselves a bit educated, and they start on their property development. But their plan is almost, well, do this property development makes a good money. Well, that's a good plan, but like it should be more than that. It's
Mm.
just ad hoc. And my question is, well, then what?
Mm.
Or what are you, what are you targeting? What?
Unless maybe you just wanted to do one property development to get a big chunk of money to pay for a very expensive wedding or something. That could be the plan without realizing.
It could be.
Maybe they wanted to do that.
It's a funny thing to do. But you know what would happen?
What?
If they did that and they made, like you said, a good chunk of money to pay for the wedding, then they'd think, oh,
that was good.
This works. This is good.
Let's do that again.
Why wouldn't you repeat it?
Yes. So the old story, failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yeah.
And it's a great one, like a great time of year to think about this. Like, what is your plan while you're lying on the beach, out walking at the gym, doing whatever we talked about?
Eating too much ham, chicken and prawns.
Yes, all of those. Yes.
And Christmas pudding. Oh, yum.
Anyway, on another note, so do you have a future plan? What is your property plan if you're thinking property development, or if we're really talking wealth?
It's sort of wealth plan.
Yeah, wealth plan.
And property development is the vehicle.
Yeah, that's what we're talking.
Yeah, you could have a wealth plan and property investment is your vehicle. But it's going to be a slow burn. It's going to be a slow way getting there.
Yes.
So it's something more proactive.
And you've got to think that where you are right now, no matter what your age, whether you're listening to this at age 17, 18, or whether you're listening to this at age 79, 89, whatever age, it doesn't matter. But where you are is a direct result financially of all of the actions you have taken. Or remember that inaction is in fact inaction.
Yeah.
By doing nothing, you are choosing to do nothing. So use this as your wake-up call to think, I actually do need to have a serious think. I'm a big fan of the old Kmart journal. You know me. Go get yourself a $2 Kmart journal and just write it out. Write your thoughts out, or a whiteboard or a big piece of paper, even if it's a brainstorm, to start getting what sometimes floats around in your head while you're driving or in the shower out of your head, so you can take a bird's eye view and go, oh, is that what I think, sort of in a big bunch?
Yeah. I need, you often say, Bob, go and whiteboard it, because you know that I like to get stuff out of my head
and see it.
It could, like you say, it could be on a journal, could be a piece of paper, could be a whiteboard. I love doing whiteboard.
Could you not? Straight across the room is a 2 meter wide whiteboard, 2 meters by 1 meter, and it's got Bob's thoughts on it.
Yeah.
God help us.
Because I'm not the sort of person who likes to carry a lot of unclosed loops in my head. You know that. Not good. I need to get it out there. Get it, you up on the whiteboard, you're rubbing stuff out, you're moving the sequence of things. And then when it's back and you step back and you look at it and you say, I can see that happening. It could just be a project. It could be a capital raising that we're going to do, those sorts of things. But even more important is the plan. This is your life financial plan, using property, in particular, property development as your vehicle that's going to drive it.
And it really impresses me when I see, we just had a young couple join recently. I won't say the last name because they don't know how they feel about us talking about them yet, but Stefan, when we get people come to us who have obviously had a plan for a couple of years, then they're not yet 30 and they're in a situation and that's really quite good for doing property development. You think, wow, that's so amazing. And that they've just made decisions and they've taken action and thought about it. They haven't, like you say, bumbled across.
Yep.
And it's really impressive. And this came up because we had a new mentoring person start this week, and they had a huge plan that started years ago to get themselves into this position here to do a development that makes it, they've got the funds behind them. But there was a massive strategy around that from how many years ago would we say? About maybe 5 or 10?
Yeah, at least.
At least,
more than that. So they're now at a point where they're planning their property development, the next phase of their investment life, their property development life.
And they'd looked at it like that initially, hadn't they? It was like that, there's this phase and then this phase, which is...
So we spent time looking at their plan, going through it and talking about it, the property development plan. But as we said, to get to that point, is the result of a couple of plans that they've had over the years
Yeah.
to get to that point. So I didn't just
And you don't have to
suddenly
come at
materialise.
that point because they wanted to have
Yeah.
there were, you know why it was, Bob? They
Mm.
had different priorities. The
Mm.
priorities that they had to tick off first were
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
And so once that there was a life priority thing going on, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
But let's talk about why people do or don't, or what influences the plan that you may or may not have. If you don't have one, or if you do, is heavily influenced by parents.
Yeah, definitely.
Heavily.
Yeah.
And that's both negative and positive.
Mm. No, we've seen some great examples. I had many years ago, I had somebody in the mentoring program. The youngest person I've ever accepted into the mentoring program, she was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, was she switched on? I never met an 18-year-old that was that switched on to property,
Mm.
but it was because of her parents. In fact, I wouldn't have accepted her into the mentoring program if not for her parents. But
Mm.
her parents were real go-getters in the property realm,
Mm-hmm.
and she'd been brought up on property.
Mm.
Hearing about it,
Yeah.
understanding it. By the time she was 18, she was probably where a lot of people are at 30 or 40. And I had no hesitation.
Mm.
And she did have I have to say, she didn't just have the encouraging support from her parents.
Mm.
They were prepared to invest with her as well,
Yeah.
which was a huge help. Not everybody falls into that category. Not everybody who has parents, but that's like almost on one extreme side of having parents who've really helped in the property side.
Mm.
But then you can have parents who never owned a property.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be around property development that
No,
your parents can
it's
support you.
mental development.
Oh, my father spent his entire life chanting in my ear that, and bless him, he's no longer here, only just, but he said, you spend your life owing the bank money. If you don't owe the bank money, you're not going anywhere. And that's what he pushed into our ears. You keep going, you keep borrowing money, you leverage as much of the bank's money as possible. And yet I had a girlfriend growing up whose parents were the opposite. They said to her daughter, you don't want to buy a house, you don't want that sort of mortgage around your neck.
Encumbrance.
Oh my gosh, that's a money
Yeah.
mindset thing that you pass on, and we are responsible for teaching our people that.
We are, and what your dad was talking about is property.
Oh yes,
when he was talking about owing the bank money.
Yeah, he was a farmer. He was buying more and more farms. That's
don't
what
owe
he
the
was
bank
doing.
money because you buy next year's car.
Oh gosh, no. Oh my gosh, no. No, not my father.
It's the different types of debt: good debt, bad debt.
Oh yeah, absolute good. All good debt. Always buying the next farm.
He was right.
Yeah, definitely. So there is the positive and negative that can come from your family, and if you don't have the positive, then you need to go out and research and find out about it yourself. The next one, Bob, is where we can get that information from to understand how to create our property plan, and that can influence us quite heavily, is accountants.
Accountants, you got to be careful with accountants.
I know.
I know some great accountants, as you do.
Yeah.
And I only use them for what they're experts on. Structuring, for instance, we've got some special accountants that are great at setting up tax-effective structures. Great, I'll use them for that. Accountants are historians.
Yeah.
They look backwards. They look at last year's figures and they'll do your tax return. They'll have a look at a structure. But be very careful. I would never take financial advice in terms of what my future intentions are from an accountant.
And I think a lot of that comes from people not wanting to be responsible for something that may go wrong. They would probably do it themselves, but not necessarily tell you to.
Some parents are like that. I used to sell real estate 100 years ago. And we used to, like, if I had a young couple come in and they were keen about a house and they said, I just want to get mum and dad to have a look, I just put a line through it on you, because mum and dad, not all, but a lot of mums and dads, and professionals can be like this. If you say no and they don't do something, they can never come back at you. But if you say yes or do this and it doesn't quite work out, they can come back. And I think that's the conservative, that's the lack mindset.
Yeah.
That actually works well in some professions.
For a safety net. Well, the other one which I've got on my list is financial planners.
Yep.
They will often poo-hoo property development because, well, one, they love to diversify, again, save their butt. And the second thing is when you do other sort of investing, not property development investing, they get a kickback. Dare we say it, but
Yeah,
it's true.
so we're
Very
not
often, not all.
we're not having a shot at financial planners. There's
No.
definitely a place for them, but as you say, some are driven off commissions of
I've worked
products.
for one once, so
Yeah,
I know what goes on.
yeah. So if if it's fee for service where they don't get commissions, they don't get kickbacks off products,
That's
then that's
better.
good.
Yeah.
But also the general attitude is diversification, and I understand that. But if you are an expert in one area, that's where you need to be. Like I consider myself an expert in the property arena.
Oh, do you now, Bob?
That's been said from time to time. So I wouldn't get any value going to a financial planner who wanted to spread me everywhere, 20% property, 20% Australian shares, 20% OS, this, that, and everything else, because 80% of my investments would be in areas that I don't really understand a lot about. Whereas because I understand a lot about property, I know how to make serious money out of property and have a record for doing it. So,
Yeah.
so I would want a majority of my investment to be in property. And there's not many professionals who give general advice like that, who would go down that track, because there's always the other side to it. But to me, that's what, if I was a share broker, for instance, I'd probably want most of my money in shares because that's where my expertise is.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be a bit careful who you take advice from.
Yes, a define expert.
Expert.
Define expert always.
Well,
just be careful of your expert.
If you're on social media, it's very hard to know who an expert is.
Oh, yeah.
You certainly don't rely on social media for finding experts or deciding if somebody is an expert. Not to say there aren't experts on social media.
No.
But yeah, what is an expert?
Yes.
That's a good point. That's a subject in itself.
So what we're saying is you really need to create that plan of how you can get started.
How long a plan? What are you thinking?
Well, when you and I threw around the 1 year, the 3 year, the 5 year, and you could go as far as you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
But for some people, if you're not used to that sort of thing, even starting at a 5 year, I think is a really, just as a bird's eye view, and give yourself a goal.
So how do you get to that 5th year plan?
Yeah.
Because I'd go a 2 year and a 5.
Yeah.
Because the 2 would lead on to the 5.
Yeah.
It might be a bit much for some people to be thinking 10, but by the time you're getting on your way to the 5, you're probably thinking more about the 10.
We always talk about our 2 year, like what our 2 year next plan.
I have a 50-year plan. I haven't told you about it.
No, keen to know more.
I'll be 100.
Something.
My math's not real good. So, yeah, but typically, like, what do I say to you? Because you can be in and out of a project in 2, or you can be halfway through a good project in 2.
Well, I want to step back before we get to there, because we've gone a little bit of the head of what I'm.
All right.
Okay, so as I wrote the notes for this and we sort of had a look at it, I think of specific people in our community, as in demographics, ages, and etc. And we've had quite a lot of young guys.
In the last 12 months, 6 months?
6 months, quite a few young guys.
What's young? Like me? Or?
No, I'm saying sort of 25 to 35.
Okay, yeah, that is a younger
younger than what we normally have.
Is.
Yeah, and we've had a disproportionate amount, really, which leads me to think that there's quite a few younger people who are keen to make a bit of money, and whether it was COVID that did that or whatever it was, I don't know. But they are quite savvy anyway. They already have a few some funds behind them, which is exciting to see.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back to the people that want to do this and don't know how. And it took me to, we spoke about it on our morning balcony coffee this morning. We sit out the back and stare out over the Glasshouse Mountains. It's beautiful. But we were talking about the Tim Gurner conversation. And you may have, so I looked it up to find out a bit more, and it had a bit of negative press because it was poking the finger.
From whom?
Well, quite a few people.
When you
really
say negative press, Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, there were two things. He
Yeah.
actually said the second comment was
So-
the one he made about.
Well, what do you say?
Okay, the
first of all?
first one was about the avocado on toast
Cohort,
demographic, whatever that
yeah.
is. He was poking a stick at a certain age group, but I think this fits with every age group. I don't think it has to be for one age group. If you want something, you have to either give something up or do more. You actually have to give something up. If you don't have money, you have to give up money, give up something to start saving it. And he was alluding to the fact that people go out for breakfast and brunches and they buy avocado on toast, which you can make at home for what, $3 or something,
Yeah,
$4, whatever that is, and you can have a coffee. But you can also go out and pay $21 and another $6 for a coffee, and that costs $28. So by the time you do that a number of times, and there's two of you, then how much money are you spending on something that you could have as a picnic with the same people? Let's say you don't have to do it at home, and maybe it's on bread, not toast, or whatever. You've got to take your toaster with you.
Sourdough bread's pretty cheap.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There are cost saving measures that people take, and then
You don't have to live like a monk, though.
No, but what we're saying
Balance.
is, yes, it is that balance around. If you want something and it's worth having, it takes effort. It takes saving effort. And both.
Sacrifice.
I've got my nails done on Saturday, and the girl said that she was looking for a second job because she wanted to save more money. And I thought, good on you, because both you and I have done that. We've had one job and then had another job to save extra money. And
when we were young,
when we were younger.
Sometimes you and I.
Oh no, now Bob.
3 jobs. Yeah, I stack shelves and drive Ubers actually.
Oh, good on you. But
nothing wrong with that.
You and I both did that in our younger days. Yeah. And we just wonder if you really want property development enough, what are you prepared to do to get started? And so then when we looked at that, we looked at other people in our community who, sometimes you see a few that have that saving time, and get together with your mates and do something.
Yeah. Like a joint venture of friends.
Yeah.
Partnership of friends. Yeah,
as long as you're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And so now we can go back to your 2 and 5 year. So I really wanted to cover that off. How much do you waste on unnecessary that could go toward a way better future? Because that small cost now is actually a big cost.
Yeah.
In the big picture.
We're not just talking about avocado on toast.
No,
but it's
of
sort
course.
like
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like the whole need for false eyelashes? That's massive. Do you know they're like $50 a week or something ridiculous like that?
You were telling me that, yeah.
And you might say, I get my nails done. Yes, but I've already got my property portfolio and I had the second job. So there comes a time that I don't have to worry about that anymore, or not worry about it. But it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're right. You're in the hard yards,
Yeah.
Like I had 3 jobs to save up for my first property.
Yep.
So you got yours very young, 18. You didn't get that boy.
I actually had 3 jobs. I said to you the same.
Yeah.
Washed dishes on a Friday night at a restaurant, did bar work illegally because I was underage on a Saturday afternoon and worked full time.
Serving at a bar underage.
Yeah. Small country towns.
Yeah. Serving all your friends who are underage probably.
No, it was only in the afternoons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, and plenty of people today do that too.
Yes, for sure. So
not all self-entitled.
No. Or maybe you already have a couple of properties, and we've spoken about this a few podcasts ago, and we'll probably revisit it again, but you're hamstrung, and that happens to a lot of younger people. And we've got some young people pretty close to us, really, and they are looking at selling now because their tenants are about to move out. They've got 2 properties. They're both under 30, which is fantastic. If they sell, pull the money out and actually use it in investing in property developments that are safe through us.
Like, as an investor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because the gains will be faster, because currently where they've got to, it's not going to grow fast enough. It's had that growth, and now it's going to be a slow hit. So they're like, pull it out, move on to a faster way, which is a plan. And that's a great plan.
Yep.
So back to the 2 and 5 year, Bob. I hijacked you before.
No, that's okay. So I say 2 year initially because you could be in and out in a project or 2 years, or even if you take a while to get started on your first project, could be halfway through. So you know what's going on there. 5 year, It's often when people start to hold some of the property they develop. So they could be into their third project by then, started their third project by then. And we know that a long term goal as property developers should be to hold some of our properties that we get at raw cost. It's a huge advantage for a property developer to accumulate property when you get it at cost, not like retail price, like everybody else. The difference between paying retail and getting it at cost about 20%, because retail buyers have to pay legals and stamp duty and everything when they buy it. Developers don't. So that's a huge thing. But often, as we know, when people start off doing property development, they're really doing it to make money. First of all, they may have left their day job on the way through or whatever, but also to build up more capital for doing more projects. So, it might often be the third one that they start to keep one thing, maybe one townhouse. And that's going to be the beginning. So that's the 5-year plan. 2 years could be getting in or mostly through your first project or halfway through. 5-year plan, now I'm in my third probably, and I want to start to accumulate. And that can be quite rapid. So the difference between the 5 and the 10-year can be quite staggering.
That's the acceleration, really, isn't it?
If you think of an exponential graph that goes along and then it sort of ramps up,
Yeah.
That's how it goes, because property values are compound, and you can ramp up. You can ramp up a lot once you've reached that point.
So you've talked about people that are good to go and ready. So and I alluded to the people that want, the dreamers who I don't know, waiting for something. So we've talked about how you've got to find a way, which is like start saving or get educated, get smart, and get people around you, get joint venture partners, and get started with joint venture partners. So
could be a little look. It could be something as simple as a 2-lot subdivision, which is about as small as you can go, and maybe you build a house in one of them, maybe you don't. But like, even if you got 4 people together to do a 2-lot subdivision, you're not going to make a lot of money.
But you will
out
make
of it.
some money.
You'll make some money, but you'll learn so much, but you'll also gain confidence. Like, everything about it is positive. If, just to get going, the thing is, make a start. Like, your first deal's not your last one.
No.
Your first deal's making a start. And, you can never finish anything that you haven't started. So make a start.
Bob, did you just come up with that yourself? Have you heard
I
it
have
before?
used it before.
I've never heard it. You can never finish anything that you haven't started.
You ever finished a race that you didn't start?
No.
No.
Race or roast, did you say?
Well, a roast. Have you ever eaten a roast you haven't started? No.
No.
So, but it's true. You can't finish anything you haven't started. But just that first thing, like you might be really short at capital, and you don't, your confidence is low. Everything's low. And even if it means more than one person, like 4, you could have some friends, 2, 3 friends want to get a start.
Yeah.
It's just a start on property. A little project, 4 of you in there, not much money involved. Get an extra job for a while, do something, just to get a little bit of money. And you come out of that with confidence, you make a few bucks, and it's not the first one, it's what's the next one and the one after.
I just want to plug in there, and I talk to quite a few people who can be in this position. Just know that it is possible for you. And you think of the things that we say on here. There are people around that are the same as you. There's friends that you know that you don't really know how to ask yet, or this is possible. This is possible for you. And this is a way that you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all had to start somewhere. I mean, I'm way north of 1.3 billion in project value now, but I started off
with the first one.
I started off with the first one. If I hadn't done my first one, I don't know what would I be doing. I don't know. I've got no idea. So it's just so important to get that first one. And remember, I got help on my first one. My help was the landowner. I did a vendor finance, what we call a vendor finance deal with the landowner.
But you're just getting together with the right amount of people, if you don't have enough to get started, is an opportunity for those that are in that space.
Yeah.
But if you do it doesn't, what we really are saying is create a plan, decide that this is for you.
The
And if you've
plan's
been thinking
important.
about it, you've got to start acting on it.
Yeah, not just ad hoc. Give yourself a plan, and be prepared to make adjustments along the way.
Yep.
Because sometimes your plan will, by the time you get to, you're looking at the plan, you might be in year 3, you're looking at your 5-year plan, and you might think, you know what, I'm going to hit that in the 4th year. I need to ramp up my 5th-year plan. Or if it needs readjusting down a little bit, I'd still leave it alone and still shoot for it. But don't get disappointed if you don't quite make it.
At least you have a
Because
plan.
you will still be somewhere good.
Yes, because otherwise all those things that I say, you'll end up being a passenger in your own life, being part of somebody else's plan, not your own. And your brain is a heat-seeking missile. Whatever you choose it to go toward, it will go toward.
Yeah.
If you decide on property development, you think about it, you start planning toward it, that is where you'll head, because you'll just become lucky in that area.
Yeah. You don't want to be on the sidelines watching the team out there playing.
No.
If you've ever been in a sport and you maybe had an injury and you've been on the sideline, everyone's out there playing, enjoying it, getting the glory, winning or losing. But you don't want life to be like that. You don't want to lead life from the sidelines.
No.
Watching other people do what you could do, or what you dream, or what you wanted to do.
Oh, you know what that means? You'll end up failing the rocking chair test.
I was working towards it, but you've already picked it up. Wow. You don't want to be that person on the porch, on the rocking chair, in the back 20% of your life or whatever it is, thinking about all the what could I, or what should I, or if only I had, or you never want to have those words in your head.
No. So I think we can wrap this one up, Bob.
And planning helps.
It's all about, the number one reason property developers don't succeed is they don't have a plan. And then once they decide to get a plan, they've got to take action. But it's what I say. It's CBA, clarity, decide what you want.
Yeah.
B, belief, believe that it's possible for you. And A, take action. So to all you amazing people out there who have been thinking about property development, go create yourself a plan. And
2024 is the year.
So yes, maybe 2024 will be your year. Not even maybe. You choose right now. Make the decision to have 2024 as your year.
The market's solid.
Yep. We're in.
Get into it.
We're in it.
We haven't been out of it.
No, we're in. All right, everybody. Fabulous. Thanks for joining us for the first episode for 2024. And you might be listening to this at a later date, but that's when we recorded it for. And we will look forward to catching up with you next week. So happy holidays. Bye.
Bye now.